So with Anthony Davis becoming one of the most promising players ever since he was in high school and already being compared to some of the all-time greats professionally throughout his legendary career up to this point, he's always had a ridiculous weight on his shoulders to live up to these high expectations. But AD's done more than just live up to the hype. He's surpassed it and evolved his game year after year in both pursuit of MVPs and championships. Now we all know Anthony Davis as putting up ridiculous numbers and showing no signs of slowing down anytime soon, but his journey to the greatness has been very interesting to say the least. Did Anthony Davis really pick the number 23 just because he thinks LeBron is better than Jordan? And because of this, is it already certain that LeBron and AD will team up on the Lakers next season? And did Anthony Davis really propel his career by growing 8 inches in a single year during high school? Let's just get right into it. Anthony Davis's early life. So before Anthony Davis became one of the faces of the NBA and an MVP candidate year after year, there's a lot of untold story that led to his success early on that will completely shock you. Anthony Davis himself was actually born in Chicago, Illinois on March 11th of 1993, and even to this day represents for the city while having a Chicago tattoo on his arm. But Davis himself is the son of his father Anthony Davis Sr. and his mother Arena, and he even has a twin sister named Antoinette and an older sister Leisha who actually played basketball at Daly College. Now it just so happens to be that his father Davis Sr. is only 6'3" and his mother is 6'1", so how did Anthony become so tall? We all know Anthony Davis to be a freak of nature standing at 6'10" and is already considered to be the best big man in the entire NBA by most people. But interestingly enough, it wasn't always like this, especially during his high school career. Now it's definitely worth noting that AD himself was only 6 foot tall at the end of his freshman year of high school and was actually considered to be a point guard, or the little guy that shoots just threes in the corner for the Perspectives Charter Public High School in South Chicago where he attended. Now Anthony has always stated that he actually picked the number 23 because he idolized LeBron James so much as he was growing up, so them having such a close relationship now while they're in the pros together should come as absolutely no surprise to anybody if you've been following him all along. But during his sophomore year in high school, Davis was still playing as a guard, but started to show more growth during the end of the season, growing 4 more inches. That following summer, Davis actually started taking things more serious, working out more, and doing guard drills with his cousins that their uncle actually put together for them to work on their game for the next year. But by the time his junior basketball season was about to start, he ended up growing yet another 4 inches, standing at 6'8" already at this point. Davis was very happy to see how fast he was growing without experiencing any knee pains or other aches, and it was even reported that Davis's family actually considered having him transferred to one of the better schools in Chicago. But the Hyde Park Career Academy coach, who knew Davis's father, well advised against it, actually saying, "If you're good enough, they'll find you wherever you are." Perspectives Charter, the high school that he actually attended, finished 8-15 during that season, and Anthony Davis remained unnoticed nationally and locally after 3 seasons of Chicago public basketball. But quickly the events turned when he started playing on the Ty Streets AAU team in the spring of his junior year of high school. That spring, NBA Top 100 camp director Dave actually invited him to the camp solely based on his dominance during the first half of the Fort Wayne, Indiana Fieldhouse contest. In August of 2010, Davis appeared in the Nike Global Challenge in Oregon. In just his first game, he had 23 points and 9 rebounds and started to show that he was the real deal. AD verbally committed to Kentucky on August 13th of 2010, choosing it over other top schools, which included DePaul, Ohio State, and Syracuse. Now Davis himself actually visited both DePaul and Ohio State, but ultimately decided to join the Kentucky Wildcats that summer. Now some of Davis's main high school accomplishments were being included in the 2011 McDonald's All-American Game and the 10th annual Jordan Brand Classic Games. In the McDonald's All-American Game though, in front of his hometown crowd at the United Center, Davis made his first 5 shots, showing that he was made for the spotlight, and was on his way to a 14-point, 6-rebound, 2-steal, and 4-block performance, and was actually named co-MVP of the Jordan Brand Classic Game with James McAdoo after posting an impressive 29 points on almost going perfect from the field, shooting 13 for 15 to go along with 11 rebounds and 4 blocks in that game. Now the Browns' 29 points there were the second highest point total during the first 10 years of the Jordan Brand game ever, following only his idol, LeBron James, who ended up scoring 34 points, and was in fact named #1 player in the class of 2011 after his senior year of high school by Scout.com and by ESPN U100. Anthony Davis's college career. Now Anthony Davis was actually recruited to the Kentucky Wildcats by head coach John Calipari, who is famously known for recruiting tons of top talent who are ready for the NBA immediately. The word around the town was that Davis was already pretty much a lock for the first pick in the 2012 NBA draft before he'd even played a game of college ball. Now by this time, Davis actually reached his full growth, finally now listed at 6'10" going into college. Davis was already drawing some comparisons to former NBA player Marcus Camby, and Coach Cal described Davis by saying he's a 6'10" with a 7'3" wingspan. Anthony's a tremendous shot blocker with great size and length. He can make three-pointers, dribble the ball, and he can up and down the court faster than some of our guards because of his long looping strides. He's a different player than Marcus Camby, but he's physically ahead of where Marcus was to start his freshman season. And ESPN reporter Andy Katz said similar things to say about Anthony Davis as well, stating Davis offers a multitude of skills for the Wildcats with his ability to block shots, run the floor, score in the low post, and face up to the basket. Now after all this, AD tore up college ball by putting up monster numbers in a total of 40 games, with 14 points, 10 rebounds, and even 5 blocks per game on shooting 62% from the field throughout that season. He led Kentucky to a perfect record of 16-0 during conference play and ultimately led them to winning the SEC regular season championship. The Wildcats entered the SEC tournament as heavy favorites and beat LSU in Florida before losing to Vanderbilt in the championship game. But even though they lost this game, they were still a #1 seed in March Madness of the NCAA tournament, where the Wildcats redeemed themselves by taking down all 6 teams that stood in the Wildcats' way to win the team's 8th national championship. During March Madness, Davis put up his usual monster stats of 15 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 blocks per game overall throughout the entire tournament. But when the games mattered the most is when Davis really stood out. During the Final Four game against Louisville, he put up 18 points, 14 rebounds, and of course the ridiculous but usual for him of 5 blocks. Kentucky were matched up against the Kansas Jayhawks in the NCAA championship game, and Davis put up a well-rounded stat line in this one as well, in which he only produced 6 points, but a ridiculous 16 rebounds, 5 assists, 6 blocks, and 3 steals. This ended up leading Davis to winning the NCAA Basketball Tournament Most Outstanding Player Award, and also was named to the All-Tournament team, where he was only the 4th freshman ever to win this prestigious award. Anthony Davis's NBA career. Now, it was definitely not that surprising, with Anthony Davis being selected with the first pick overall of the 2012 NBA draft by the New Orleans Hornets prior to them becoming the Pelicans as we know them today. But Anthony Davis's first season was pretty solid, as he was actually named runner-up to Damian Lillard for the Rookie of the Year that season. During his rookie year, he put up a respectable 13 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks in his first official season professionally. In the 2013 and 14 season, just his second year in the league, Davis was already named to his first All-Star appearance, where he was putting up 21 points, 10 rebounds, and even 3 blocks per game. This is in fact where the NBA started to take notice of AD and how crazy his ceiling really was. The following season though, Davis left off right where he was before, leading the Pelicans to the playoffs, where AD dominated the league the entire season, putting up 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game. Now in fact, something that's been brought to attention recently is how during the 2015 and 16 season, AD actually signed an extension with the Pelicans of a max contract for 5 years, $145 million. But Davis in fact backed up his new contract by putting up a franchise record of 59 points and 20 rebounds against the Detroit Pistons on February 21st of 2016, where he became the youngest player to put up at least 59 points in a game. And this was actually the all-season high until Kobe scored his iconic 60 points in his final game ever. But shortly after that, Davis was actually finished for the year after suffering a left knee injury and a torn labrum in his left shoulder. He still managed to average 24 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 blocks in the season in just 61 games. But during the 2016 and 2017 season is exactly where Davis stepped up his game to an even more ridiculous level, averaging 28 points, 11 rebounds, and 2 blocks per game. But what's in fact even crazier about all this is that the first game back, coming off those 2 injuries the previous year with all eyes on him, he actually put up a ridiculous 50 points, 16 rebounds, 7 steals, 5 assists, and 4 blocks against the Denver Nuggets. Davis kept on dominating that season, including during the All-Star game, which was actually in New Orleans that year, where he set the record and took home the MVP of the game, putting up 52 points and 10 rebounds in that game. Moving on to the 2017 and 2018 year though, is actually when LeBron himself began to recognize his dominance, even selecting him to Team LeBron during that season's All-Star game, where they were seen having a good time laughing, hugging, and throwing alley-oops to one another, and looked like the perfect duo to team up today in LA. Davis reached his second ever playoff appearance that season and carried the Pelicans after they lost their big man of DeMarcus Cousins to a torn Achilles. The Pelicans actually swept the Portland Trailblazers in that first round of the playoffs, but went on to lose to the Golden State Warriors in just 5 games during that next round. But up to this point of the 2018 and 2019 season, with constant outside noise surrounding Anthony, Rumors of his departure to LA after purchasing a mansion there this past summer, and even signing with LeBron James' agent has been the biggest headline. Being one of the most dominant players in the entire league, the only criticism of him has been that he hasn't been as successful during the playoffs as his regular season accolades show. Recently, AD even stated that his legacy is far more important than any contract a franchise can offer him, so with him being eligible to sign his biggest contract possible by staying in New Orleans in 2020, perhaps this was actually a subliminal message to the organization that if things aren't working out sometime soon, that regardless of what offer they may be able to offer him during his anticipated free agency, he could actually depart for a far more winning franchise and less money. And it was even reported that he had a meeting/dinner with LeBron James after playing against one another in LA. But up to this point, Davis has certainly done his part this season, putting up 28 points, 13 rebounds, and 3 blocks per game so far, and despite the lack of all-around team success, individually he's still in the convo for MVP regardless. But with all that being said, the relationship between Anthony Davis and LeBron James is something to take note of, and there's a lot of untold story that you may have missed out on. Anthony Davis has been in the headlines a lot over the past few months about an upcoming trade to the Los Angeles Lakers. So far, Anthony Davis has played his entire career with the New Orleans Pelicans, but this could in fact be coming to an end either this season or during his pending 2020 free agency. Now, LeBron James himself has actually been one to show support while being asked about AD potentially coming to the Showtime LA squad, even on record saying that would be amazing. Like duh, that would be incredible. Davis will in fact be a free agent in 2020, and the Pelicans are still near the bottom of the Western Conference going into the new year. The Pelicans might want to make a trade before they lose a once-in-a-generation type of player for absolutely nothing in return. Now, of course, the Pelicans are not interested in actually getting rid of him, at least anytime soon, and when asked about him potentially being traded, the Pelicans coach actually said there was no chance and even laughed, not for anybody in the league, not even for Beyonce. But in reality, what else is he supposed to say, because Anthony Davis is their only hope of turning things around in New Orleans, if we're being honest. But Davis has in fact stated that he still has his focus on the Pelicans organization, playing for them, and doing whatever it takes to make the team win ball games consistently. Now, when the Pelicans played the Lakers recently in LA, he was actually welcomed by the Lakers fans themselves, cheering for him loudly when his name was announced during the starting lineups before the game. At that point, it was already speculated that business was in the works of sending him to LA for some of their premier young talent. Now, after LeBron and AD went head-to-head in a premier matchup this season, they actually shook up after the game, and it was even recorded that LeBron told AD, "We'll talk," and after the game, they reportedly had dinner together. But what was said between them is unknown. Well, it seems LeBron is doing everything in his power to get Davis to come to LA. Now, if you've been following along all up to this point surrounding Anthony Davis's career, this probably doesn't shock you too much because of the fact that LeBron and Anthony Davis actually have a history together. They actually played together on the Olympic team during Davis's rookie season in 2012, prior to his NBA career even beginning yet, and was selected by LeBron himself to join Team LeBron during last year's All-Star game. It's also worth noting that both Davis and LeBron have the exact same agent in Rich Paul, in which Anthony Davis signed previously there in 2018 during the summer to spark the apparent rumors, and interestingly enough, Anthony Davis recently bought a $7.5 million mansion in Los Angeles over this past summer. But Davis has been on record saying LeBron was his idol growing up, and that explains why he always chooses the number 23 even in junior high, high school, college, and now in the pros. But in fact, he will have to change his number though if he does decide to join the Lakers and play alongside his icon and idol in LeBron James in the near future, but they could in fact become the greatest duo ever in NBA history and get the accolades towards AD's legacy that he desperately deserves, so it's easily worth that sacrifice. But with all of that being said, what do you guys think of Anthony Davis's career on and off the court up to this point? Will he in fact join LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers in the near future? Let me know in the comments down below, subscribe to the channel if you're new, drop a like if you enjoyed, but I'll catch you in the next video, peace out.